wildly enough, it is already August, which means 2024 is halfway over. So I thought it would be a great time to do a what I've been reading this year, a little halfway point wrap up. I have physical copies that I read this year, and I also have some stuff that I read on my Kindle. I'm going to talk about the synopsis of each of the books, my star rating, and just kind of wrap up what the 2024 has been looking like so far. As always, you can follow along with what I'm reading in real time over on Instagram and Goodreads over on What's Val Reading, or follow me on TikTok at Valerie Hoffman. I started out this year really strong with The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. This is so good. If you're a fan of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, this is right up your alley. It tells the story of Dev, who is a producer for the show, or kind of like a talent wrangler on, what do they call it? Theirs is called Ever After. And there is a gentleman named Charlie who comes on as their Prince Charming, to kind of rehabilitate his image in the media. And it turns out that he's a little more interested in hanging out with Dev than he is with any of the ladies that are there for him. It's so heartwarming and sweet. This was a 5-star read for me, and I was so happy to start the year off with this book. This is a must read in my opinion if you haven't already read it. I know almost everybody has, but yes, Charm Offensive, so good. Next up this year, I read Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. She's most known for her like Women in STEM romance series. But that's like The Love Hypothesis, Love Theoretically. Not in Love is her new one. I can't remember the name of the second one. I have it. What is it? I don't know. It's on my shelf and I don't have my glasses on. This was her first YA book. It tells the story of Mallory, who's like a childhood chess prodigy who's kind of stepped away from the chess spotlight. But she goes in for one final tournament to help out her friends, and she beats Nolan, who is like the it kid of chess. And then of course she kind of steps back into the chess scene, and it's their story of getting to know each other throughout the tournament season. This was excellent. I gave this 4 stars when I read it. Thinking back on it, I might want to bump it, but I know Goodreads doesn't do half stars. That's probably why it has a 4. But I'd say this is probably like a 4.3, 4.5. I really liked this. It was very good. The next thing I read in 2024 was One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I can't believe it took me this long to read this book, but I just hadn't got around to it. Casey is my favorite author. And this tells the story of August, who has moved into New York City, and on the subway she runs into this girl named Jane, who is like immediately so cool, just loves everything about her. And then every time she gets on the train, the same train, she sees her, but she's in the same outfit, she's got the same stuff. The only place August ever sees her is the train, and it turns out that Jane is trapped in time, and it's their love story and August and her friends trying to help Jane out of her situation. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I also gave this a 4 stars, but I want to say this is again maybe like a 4.5, not just a flat 4. The next thing I read was an arc that it was on my Kindle. It's called Prove It by Stephanie Hoyt, and it tells the story of 2 hockey players in the NHL, and it was really sweet. It was like a very good unexpected romance. I love hockey romance. I love male hockey romance. I just feel like it's so good with the tension, and they're on opposing teams, and it's like them going throughout the season. It's really excellent. I really liked this. This I gave a solid 4 stars. And I dove into the acotar realm. I finally dipped my toes in. I started off with, of course, acotar, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I then went on to A Court of Mist and Fury, and then went to A Court of Wings and Ruin, all 3 by Sarah J. Maas. I then took a pause because Wings and Ruin is so plot heavy. I just needed like a second to not read something that intense, and it like kind of wraps up at a good point, so I let that one go for a little bit. acotar wasn't my favorite book in the world. Everyone told me to stick with it after the first one, so I gave that one a 3.5. Everyone was right. Mist and Fury has a 5-star for me, and Wings and Ruin I gave a 4.2. Just was a lot of plot. I feel like they could have got there a little bit faster, but I understand. And I am excited to read the other 2 that are out right now. I just needed a minute. I'll probably jump into Frost and Starlight very soon. I don't want to spoil a lot if you know nothing. If you've gotten this far and you know nothing, I don't want to tell you about it, but the human world and the fairy world don't really get along, and there's reasons for it and everything like that. It's a very interesting take on, you know, the fairy world. But I really like this series. I mean, it's not my holy grail, like some people like are obsessed. I think it's excellent, but it's a great way to get into fantasy if you've never read any fantasy, in my opinion. After acotar, I jumped into The Idea of You by Robin Lee. I really wanted to watch the movie when that came out on Amazon. I am a huge Nicholas Galitzine girl from Red, White, and Royal Blue, of course, and just love Anne Hathaway with everything in my being, so I knew I would like this. The book was great. I gave it almost 4 stars. I think it has 4 on my Goodreads, but really in my heart it's just under. The ending of the book made me want to throw punches. The ending of the movie was great. So if you can read the book and then go watch the movie and let the ending of the movie be the real ending for you, I think it's excellent. It was just really fun. It was like, clearly it's One Direction fan fiction. I don't really care. I love all that stuff. So I was in from the beginning. I thought it was great. Next, I picked up Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. This tells the story of Reese and Sadie. Hockey player Reese suffers from panic attacks, and Sadie witnesses that, and it turns out that she's kind of one of the only people that can get him through that and that he trusts enough to help him through. It's a like Grumpy Sunshine reverse. She's Black Cat, he's like Golden Retriever. It's very, very sweet, very, very cute. I think she has another one coming out. I saw her 2 friends. Oh shoot, I'm not gonna remember the names. But whatever the 2 friends are in this book, then they're getting their own story next, which I love. Like I said, I love a good hockey romance. This one was just that. A great hockey romance. This I gave a 3.5 4 stars. The next thing that I read was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. And this tells the story of Kath, who goes off to college with her twin sister Ren, and they have completely different college experiences. Kath is a prolific fan fiction writer online of the Simon Snow universe of books, and she has a hard time acclimating to college, I guess, now that her and her sister are kind of doing separate things a little bit, and it's her whole freshman year. And I think I would have been obsessed with this book if I'd read it when I was a freshman in college, or even just at any point in my college life. I am quite far removed from that now, so I don't think it hit as hard. I should have just read it when it came out, and I didn't, and that's my own fault. So I gave it a 3.5 stars, but it's really good, and it just like doesn't hit for me at my age anymore. But I really read it because I wanted to read the Simon Snow trilogy, which we'll get to in a second. My next book of 2024 was The Pairing. I was lucky enough to pick up an arc of this. Cannot stop talking about this. Casey McQuiston, my favorite author, my holy grail. This is their most adult novel yet, in my opinion. It is the story of Kit and Theo, who were friends and then dated, and then on a trip they break up, and they have tickets to a food and wine tour, and before they expire, they both decide to take the tickets and go, not realizing that the other one will also be on the tour. And they meet up one more time and have to go on this European food and wine tour together. This was excellent. This was a 5-star read of the year for me. Just so pleased with this. I just absolutely loved it. I could go on and on and on, but I won't. Please read The Pairing, 5 stars. Then I read Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This is the first book in the Simon Snow universe, in the Simon Snow trilogy. So this is not exactly the fan fiction that Kath was writing in Fangirl, but it's not the books that she had been reading. It is like its own separate take on those characters from those stories, but it's a la Harry Potter. That's kind of what it's supposed to be-ish, at least in Fangirl. But it's a school of magic. It tells the story of Simon Snow, who is kind of like the it boy magician of their universe, Harry vibes, you know? It's his final year? Yes, it's his final year at the magic school that they go to. It tells the story of him and his best friend Penelope and Agatha and Baz, who is a vampire maybe, and their romance that buds, which is excellent. I loved this one, and I gave this a 5 for me. I thought that this one was great. I could have read a full series from book 1 to their last year. If that existed, I would totally be in. I loved this one. Then I read Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, which is the next book in the Simon Snow series, and unfortunately this one just didn't do it for me. It's not anyone's fault. I just know that like they wanted to do something different with this one, and they're not in school anymore, and the romance that was in the first one just wasn't there for me anymore. But I know why it's not there, and like I'm hoping it comes back in the third one in Any Way the Wind Blows. I haven't read that yet, but I'm hoping. It's the characters from Carry On, and they go on a American cross-country trip to visit some people and visit Agatha, who's moved out to California, and of course hijinks ensue, blah 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 blah. And it was very fun to read, but it just wasn't the same to me as Carry On. I wanted to love it, but I didn't. That one was a like 3.74 stars for me. Not bad at all, just not my favorite. And then the last thing I've read in the first half of this year was Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. This was actually my first Tessa Bailey book, and that is because I picked up The Au Pair Affair, which I just started, but read like 2 pages of this and was like, I feel like I'm missing context, and one Google search later realized I should have read Fangirl Down first. So I did that, got that for my Kindle and read through that, and I really liked it. I know like the idea of a bad boy golfer is like hilarious and silly, but it was a really fun read. It tells the story of Wells, who is on the PGA circuit, professional golfer, and oh my god, what is her name? Am I crazy? Not Tallulah, that's the best friend. Josephine, oh my god, Josephine, who is his biggest fan, Wells Belle, as she goes by, and he knows who she is because she's at every match that she can go to. She's like kind of like known for being his #1 fan, and he's just like on a downward spiral, and she's still been there for him until he just like snaps at her, and she's like, fine, whatever, I'm done. He goes to make it up to her and realizes that she's kind of in a bad spot and offers her caddying position for the rest of the PGA Tour. And then of course they fall in love, and it's just like exactly what you expected it to be, but it was really enjoyable. And I am hoping that The Au Pair Affair, who takes 2 side characters from that and puts them in their own novel, is just as good. And if I enjoyed this one too, I'm definitely gonna be reading more Tessa Bailey. I didn't know that I would like her so much. I just kind of never read any of her stuff, oddly enough. But I gave Fangirl Down a solid 4.3 stars. Excellent. It was really fun. That is everything I read in the first half of 2024. The first half of the year is always a pretty slow couple of months reading-wise for me, with my like job eating up so much of my time and a lot of traveling and blah 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 blah. But I am pushing my reading into high gear for the second half of the year. My Goodreads says I'm behind, but I'm at the halfway point, so I don't know why it would say I'm behind. But yeah, I have been enjoying a lot of good stuff this year. Tell me what you're reading right now. If you are reading something great and you'd really recommend it, please let me know. I'm always looking to add to my TBR, my never-ending list. My bookshelf is groaning with the thought of adding another book to it, but I am always looking for more. I hope you enjoyed my little roundup. More videos are to come. Again, follow me on Instagram, TikTok. All my links are below. And I will see you all soon. Bye.